Brian Kelly just admitted what he's afraid of versus Clemson. We'll talk about it right here on Locked On Clemson.
You are Locked On Clemson, your daily podcast on the Clemson Tigers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, Tiger fans? Morgan Thomas here, Clemson fan, Clemson grad, host and producer of Locked On Clemson, part-time host and producer over on the flagship station 105.5 FM The Roar. And I will be there tonight from 7 to 9 p.m. So check that out. Thank you so much for making Locked On Clemson your first listen of the day. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Big salute out there to my everydayers. You know who you are. You know how we do it here on Locked On Clemson, Monday through Friday. Every single week, you get exclusive Clemson content. And if you're new to the show, welcome in. If you haven't already, make sure you hit the like and subscribe button. 75% of viewers haven't yet subscribed. As we get into the football season, we've got tens of thousands of people that need to get more Clemson content, and I have it right here for you. So hit that like and subscribe button. Today, we have a jam-packed show. Brian Kelly recently came out with his press conference, and I dissected it for you so you don't have to go back and watch it and listen to it unless you really want to, but I'll give you the key highlights from his press conference from a Clemson fan perspective, Clemson grad perspective, a little bit of a diehard fan here. You know, I mean, you have to do this. If you're doing this, you're probably a pretty strong fan for your team anyways. But specifically, he talked about key players that Clemson's looking at, or that LSU is looking at and worried about, or maybe at least circled or concerned about their offensive line. And he mentioned having more than one tight end out on the field. We'll get to that in segment 3. I want to start, though, with the thing that is not really shocking, that he talked about who Clemson or LSU should be worried about, what Clemson players are the key players for him. He highlighted Cade Klubnik. Well, duh, we know Cade Klubnik. He's the starting quarterback. He's the one of the Heisman, nominees, along with Garrett Nussmeier. It's going to be quarterback versus quarterback, a huge matchup this weekend. And we talked about it on this show about how which quarterback can handle pressure the most, which quarterback can handle mistakes better than the other quarterback. That will be one of the deciding factors in this game. So it does hinge a lot on Cade Klubnik. And LSU has to do what they can to frustrate him, to pressure him, to hurry him up. As we've mentioned, as his feet go, Cade Klubnik goes, Clemson goes. If his feet start to get, like the Irish jig, then you're worried about losing the game by multiple touchdowns because Cade's going to make mistakes. Has Cade finally just gotten rid of that problem altogether? We'll have to see for 2025. He still had glimpses here and there of that footwork problem, but it got much better as the season went on. As 2024 as a whole, it was a much better season for Cade. Has he taken that next step? Because as LSU fans remind us, Clemson lost 3 SEC games last season. They lost 4 of their most difficult games of the season. So Cade has to get over the hump. LSU, August 30th, is the hump. Well, at least the first hump of the season, and he has to get over that. He also Brian Kelly mentioned Peter Woods. Of course, you think Peter Woods, TJ Parker, both guys that he mentioned are going to be guys on that defensive front that we are hoping that are completely healthy and are ready to take their game to the next level. This is contract year. This is NFL year for them, as well as it is for Cade Klubnik. So the pressure on the quarterback starts with the defensive line. Clemson, I like what they have in their starting rotation for defensive line more than I like LSU. Quarterback, really, to me, I like both quarterbacks almost equally. I love a lot what I see from both. They both have their own little quirks and frustrations. Both can have turnovers when they get frustrated and get pressure. So both can turn the ball over. But both are very good quarterbacks and will be fighting for that Heisman Trophy. As far as defensive lines, LSU has a brand new set of defensive linemen that they don't really know about. They think they know that they're extremely talented. On Clemson's side, we know about them. Peter Woods, Demonte Capehart, TJ Parker, those guys are guys that have been with the program year after year after year, and this is their year to get to the NFL, to be a first-round draft pick. I truly believe all three of those guys could be first-round draft pick caliber players by the end of the season if they stay healthy. That's how good those three guys are. Will Helt's not ready to get into the NFL draft yet, but he is one of those guys that is as of last season, proven, to be one of the better players on his team that he's coming from. And then he mentioned offensive side of the ball, wide receivers, Antonio Williams and Bryant Wesco. I thought that was very interesting because those two guys are definitely the two guys that you'd want to see. I don't know if somebody fed Brian Kelly these names or if he's actually been doing the research. I do question it from Brian Kelly and his authenticity many times. I think Brian Kelly is a big faker in many ways. No disrespect, but to LSU fans. But if you were to ask me how I have my true feelings about Brian Kelly, I think he's a fraud. I think he's a big faker, especially from day one when he came in with that big crazy accent. I mean, it was fake from day one. When he gets on the podium and does a little spin-a-rooney thing with the recruits as an old man, it's weird. It's fake to me. But anyways, I know that Dabo Swinney has done some cringy things too. I get it. Recruiting is recruiting. I get it. But the scary part to me, if I was an LSU fan, is I would say he didn't mention TJ Moore. To me, TJ Moore got progressively better, did not come in as an early enrollee last season as a true freshman, and arguably could be the best wide receiver on the team. That could be a price to pay if you ignore him. Now, is he really ignoring him? No, he might have just had a list and this is his list. And it is what it is. But I'm going to read into it because this is talking season right now. We've got just a few days left before the game, and I'm going to read into it for what I can. To me, TJ Moore could be Clemson's best wide receiver. And while they need to worry about those other guys, he didn't mention any running backs, and I understand that. That makes sense. We'll see how Adam Randall does. I am a believer in Adam Randall. We'll see how good Gideon Davison truly is at this early on in his career. We'll see if Ezi Omume has taken that leap from a spring ball champion to actual Saturday champion, stud, if you will. So there are a lot of question marks at wide receiver. I can understand why he didn't mention any, or at running back. I can understand why he didn't mention those. At wide receiver, though, to me, there are no questions. You have Williams, Wesco. You have TJ Moore. You have Tyler Brown, another one that nobody really talks about. Even I don't talk about him as much either. And a lot of Clemson fans have reminded me of that too. But he gave high praise for the stars of Clemson, and that's what you expect from a coach coming out in this game, the preseason press conference leading up to the game. It's rare to hear a coach highlight every single person, but it does show that they have priorities. They feel as if Cade Klubnik is going to be a problem, especially he mentioned with his legs. It's been known to be a problem. He can move the chains. He can win a game with you with his legs. So he is definitely concerned about that. If the running game doesn't work out for Clemson, then you have to go with Cade Klubnik and his legs. Maybe Cade Klubnik's legs will open up the other running backs with more space and more opportunities. Maybe Cade Klubnik's legs open up the wide receivers as well. But I think when you look at Clemson and what you feel like their biggest strength is, it's got to be Cade. It's got to be the wide receivers. And that's where there's a little bit of a glimpse of what they're going to be focused on. They may not be as focused about stopping the run as they are stopping the pass, as they are getting to Cade Klubnik as quickly as possible in a pass rush to disrupt what all could happen if you let Clemson's wide receivers run all over you. So there is an emphasis around passing, stopping the passing game and stopping Cade Klubnik's time, or messing up Cade Klubnik's timing. Completely makes sense to me. Honestly, I would do the exact same. These teams are very similar in a lot of ways. I do this exact same if I'm Tom Allen. And then on the defensive side of the ball, the offense for LSU, defensive side of the ball with Clemson, stopping that pass rush with those legit guys. I mean, that also is something that I would say for Clemson. It's crazy how evenly matched these two teams are. Brian Kelly also gave us some insight on how he will rotate the offensive line and what offensive line we can expect against Clemson, and how they may not be as confident as even I gave them credit for. We'll talk about it in segment 2. August 26th is officially here, a brand new holiday for football fans who live for bold predictions and preseason hunches. For just 24 hours, FanDuel is giving you deals on NFL season predictions. So whether you're calling your MVP, eyeing a long shot division winner, or ready to crown your Super Bowl champ before week 1 even kicks off, this is your moment. If I had to plant my flag right now, I would plant my flag on Josh Allen, on the Detroit Lions. I like the Buffalo Bills as well. I'm loving what I'm seeing from Trevor Lawrence, even though, I get it. I'm a Clemson fan, so I might be a little biased there. But there are a lot of things out there that you can do, a lot of races that you can look at, competitions you can look at. No matter what you're looking for, FanDuel has it today and today only. I'm telling you, visit the FanDuel app today. Start planning your futures bets now, because Futures Day is one day and one day only. FanDuel, play your game. We have an important request for Locked On viewers and our everydayers. Locked On wants to hear from you. We've put together a survey to learn more about our listeners and your favorite podcasts and make your favorite podcast even better. This is your chance to tell us what you like, what you don't like, answer questions about our advertising, anything you want. So go over to lockedonpodcast.com/survey and get started. Everyone who completes a survey will be entered for a chance to win one of 10 $100 Amazon gift cards. Again, that's lockedonpodcast.com/survey. You can find the link in the show notes for this show. Thank you so much for helping us out. All right. So segment 2, I wanted to get into the offensive line discussion. Clemson's offensive line seems pretty solid. We've got Tristan Lee at left tackle. We've got more than likely Colin Sadler, Elijah Thurman, a little bit of a rotation left guard. Center Ryan Linthicum and Harris Sewell, more or less Ryan Linthicum. Right guard is going to be Walker Parks, and then right tackle is going to be Blake Miller. So we know that Clemson has 5, 6, 7 guys that they could rotate. And again, it's just so funny how evenly matched these teams, how even these similar the teams have situations or ideas or strategies going into this game. When you hear what the other coaches are saying, it sounds a lot like what Clemson is saying too. Clemson has 5 guys they're definitely going to stick with. I believe they have 7 guys they'll rotate through, maybe at 1 or 2 positions most. I don't think it's going to be massive rotations in this game for sure, unless there's an injury. But those are my guys that I think that Clemson will be looking at for this very first game of the season. Brian Kelly openly talked about having a rotation himself on the offensive line. He said he's got 8 guys that he feels like that he may need to rotate through, all sticking around Braylon Moore, the transfer from Virginia Tech. He's got a ton of experience. He's played against Clemson. Was graded pretty well according to Pro Football Focus, much better in pass protection versus Clemson when he was with Virginia Tech than he was with run blocking. So, I don't know if you can take that for what it is, but Braylon Moore is obviously extremely veteran center. So that's where they'll start and they'll work their way out from there. We talked about their offensive line with having to replace the 2 tackles that are now in the NFL, and Campbell and Emory Jones Jr. And so they've got 2 relatively brand new tackles that are not new to the system, but just, they don't have a lot of snaps under their belt. So, they've got to figure it out, and they're going up against Clemson's defensive line that has a lot of snaps. So that could be a point of weakness there. Rotation in the trenches, sometimes it can sound like depth, and Clemson fans know this. Sometimes it can sound like depth, but in reality, sometimes it can be that there's no cohesiveness. There's really no front runner, and that success or that depth could be smoke and mirrors for communication issues, for timing issues, for chemistry issues, or just really greenness, lack of snaps, which we know that LSU has. So to me, I'm not saying they're not talented, but I am saying that there is a little bit of a concern there. If I'm an LSU fan thinking, hey, Clemson is pinning their ears back, they're going to be coming at me. They're definitely going to put the pressure on that offensive line. And Clemson's, one thing that is kind of just brushed over, not really from Brian Kelly though, but brushed over from LSU fans, is the Clemson fan base. I get it. They're an SEC team. They've played in loud environments, and that is very, very true. Some of these players have not, though. Some of these players are very new and haven't played a ton of snaps in 2024. So you can't say they've played in massively packed out stadiums, outside of just standing on the sidelines for some of these guys. So, and the fact that they'll be playing together for the first time in a true game is going to be a big deal for me. Clemson doesn't have that issue as much this season. LSU does. How quickly will these guys be able to click together? That's going to be a big question mark for LSU fans and a big attack for me as a Clemson fan. I say it's going to be one on the trenches. Clemson should welcome this. They should welcome this rotation from LSU, because the more they rotate, the more, to me, it is a sign they don't know who they really want out there. The more, to me, it's a sign that they don't have a dominant 5 guys that they could rotate. And if they get to a part where they're not working together or they're not communicating, what happens when you're at Clemson in a hostile environment with 82,000 fans screaming at the top of their lungs? You're at the beginning of the season. What did I say yesterday? I said mistakes happen. Well, on an offensive line, what does mistakes look like? It looks like false starts. It looks like not 1st and 10, 1st and 15, 1st and 20, 3rd and 7 turns to 3rd and 12. That's a big difference when it comes to converting those third downs, when it comes to keeping the chains moving. When you get in the red zone and you're within scoring distance and you're within that jump ball distance, but then you get a false start or you get a holding penalty, and then all of a sudden you're no longer in that jump ball scenario. I personally would like to keep LSU out of the jump ball scenario, because I do think if it were me, I'm Trey Greening Clemson all day long. 6'7" tight end. I am killing them with Trey Green when it comes to the red zone. So for me, if LSU gets within 25 yards, it's Trey Green day. And I expect that. And if I don't see it, I'll be shocked. He is an absolute monster basketball player type guy. So if a false start can kind of do that, it not only frustrates you from a field position standpoint, but as a team, it's like, oh, great. Here we go. We got to back up. And then the coaches also do the same. Oh, great. We got to redo our play call. We got to change the play from what we originally had to something different now, because our yardage is completely different. That noise and rotation and lack of experience playing together, to me, screams, we got a problem, and I want Clemson to attack that. You have to find mismatches, no matter how slight they may be. And I get it. They are talented. They definitely are. And talent can mask a lot of miscommunication, but it can't mask false starts. It can't mask missed protections one-on-one. So if there is protection breakdown, that to me has always been my key number one. If you listen to me 2 months ago, what did I say? I said LSU is going to come down to the line of scrimmage and who can get pressure more. I am championing that. I am dying on that hill now, continuing to do so, because this is game week and this is what we've waited for. Now, this is talking week for me. So this is where I get to shine and just, and you get to shine in the comments as well. And you get to shine on the insider program and texting me. I get it. But Saturday is coming soon, and it's going to be hostile. It's going to be an environment that is ripe for false starts, ripe for missed protections and breakdowns. And if that happens on LSU's front, considering they are relatively new playing with each other, playing together on that offensive line, and you throw in the rotations, to me, if you're Clemson's defensive front, I'm attacking that. I'm forcing LSU to play every single down on eggshells, because they have to be perfect. This is not a chance this is not a chance for just sitting back and allowing Garrett Nussmeier to pick you apart. No. You do not do that. 8 guys rotation at the beginning of the season, to me, not depth at all. Desperation, concern, I lean more towards that. The Death Valley noise, whether you want to call it Death Valley Junior, you're going to find out what Death Valley Junior is all about. You're going to find out if it's really the junior, because the Clemson fan base eats false starts, man. They eat offensive lines with a bunch of false starts and bad protection matchups. I'm telling you, they will get you behind the line and really frustrate you. This is a great setup for me if I'm a Clemson fan, because Peter Woods, TJ Parker, DeMonte Capehart, these guys will help. These guys should be attacking aggressively. And under Tom Allen, that's what we want to see. That's what we are demanding, because we didn't see that with Wes Goodwin. As the season went on, what did we see with Wes Goodwin? We saw more and more conservative play calling. As my dad always tells me, prevent defense, only thing he's ever heard about prevent defense or seen from prevent defense is that it prevents you from ultimately winning the game, because you give such a cushion that the quarterback eats you alive. Well, under LSU's talent at wide receiver and under Garrett Nussmeier, you're not going to do that. I would rather them beat us one-on-one, head-to-head, on the sidelines, aggressiveness, than to just sit back and let Nussmeier pick you apart, because he definitely will. All right. All off season, LSU has told us about their wide receivers and how great they are and how awesome they are. And that is true. They are speedsters. They are talented up and down. But Brian Kelly revealed that he might do something a little bit different and not have as many wide receivers out there. And we'll talk about it in segment 3 right here on Locked On Clemson. Guys, you're probably familiar with names like Viagra or Cialis, or maybe even you've tried them, but you're looking for something that's faster, more modern, more convenient, and it's time to meet Rugiet Ready. Rugiet Ready is next generation prescription treatment designed to amplify arousal in the brain and boost blood flow. Unlike the usual pills that can take hours, Rugiet's 3-in-1 formula dissolves under your tongue and kicks in fast, on average in just 15 minutes, and the effects can last up to 36 hours, so you stay confident and in control when the moment's right. As someone juggling a packed schedule between flying, family, and this show, I really appreciate when things are simple, fast, and reliable. Rugiet Ready checks all of those boxes, and I'm telling you what I love the most is that they tell me that it's handled all discreetly. Doctor's consult, shipping, everything, no awkward trips, no waiting rooms. And if you're still on the fence, they've got a ton of real reviews that you can check over on their website. Head over to rugiet.com/lockedoncollege and use code lockedoncollege to get 15% off today. That's rugiet.com/lockedoncollege to use code lockedoncollege for 15% off. Individual results may vary with prescription treatment. Compounded drugs are permitted to be prescribed under federal law, but are not FDA approved and do not undergo FDA safety, effectiveness, and manufacturing review. Please visit the Rugiet website for full safety information. Before we get into the next segment, I got something to tell you, man. You're missing out on not already being a part of the Locked On Clemson Insider program. We've been having some incredible conversations over there lately with all the new users that are with me. Fans are texting me in directly. People that watch the show, the everydayers, they're sharing their takes. We're chatting back and forth. We have direct line of communication, and things that even don't make the show we can discuss and talk about and give you my true insights. Plus, you get access to mailbag episodes and get highlights and shout outs during the show and inside discussions all season long from things that I hear about through the radio or through other insiders that I have in the program. There's even a 14-day free trial, so there's no excuse to sit here on the outside and not hang out with us. The link is in the description on this video, so don't miss it. All right, so LSU, Brian Kelly, I know that they have a bunch of frisbee catching dogs. I wouldn't even say frisbee catching dogs. They have a bunch of the Freezes out there. You know, the Freeze from Atlanta Braves. I mean, how fast that dude is. They've got a bunch of track star speedsters. And I get it. We should be shaking in our boots. I don't want to go down the LSU fan base pathway of Clemson shouldn't even show up to the game. Sometimes you get in the comments, you guys message me and you're like acting like Clemson doesn't even need to show up to this game because LSU has all the best players that God ever created for college football. You got a talented team. I get it, but it's not going to be that easy, because Clemson also has a very talented team. I do believe the more the hype gets riled up and the more we have our friendly banter back and forth, I do believe that this is going to be a close game. And as I've mentioned, for months now, I've told you it all is about the line of scrimmage. Who can protect Garrett Nussmeier better? Who can protect Cade Klubnik better? And Brian Kelly admitted that they may just lean on a 12 personnel. And what this means is you're going to have one running back and two tight ends. So the one meaning the running back, the two meaning the tight end. You're going to have two tight ends. Now, why would you want to do that? Why would you want two tight ends when you have so many speedsters at wide receiver? You have like 5 or 6 guys, many guys I haven't even mentioned at wide receiver. I've mentioned the big key ones that we need to keep an eye out for. But that's a clear sign to me that they are respecting Clemson's defensive front more than outsiders are. Inside the program, Brian Kelly knows that they need to protect Garrett Nussmeier. And he's already told us that he's going to have a rotation. And to me, that screams more of you don't have 5 guys than you do. And the reason why is because Clemson has lived it for years. Dabo Swinney has come out at the beginning of the season and told us many times, oh, we've got 10 guys. We got 10 guys we know can play. When really you barely got 3, on the offensive line. A little bit screams to me that Brian Kelly might be going through some of those growing pains on the offensive line as well, talent or not. If you're going to mix in a 12 personnel looks with Trades Green and Bauer Sharp, I believe that those 2 tight ends are great. To me, the freshman monster, Trades Green, scares me. And in the red zone, scares me a lot. Bauer Sharp was leading receiver for Oklahoma, one of the leading receivers for Oklahoma last season, but his stat sheet doesn't jump out to you. Oklahoma struggled on offense, as we know, in 2024, and being a leader on that offense really is not super awesome. But Bauer Sharp is a very seasoned guy. He knows how to play the position, and they do trust him there. Swapping him, to me, is not really for the passing game. Trades Green's passing game guy to me. He's red zone guy to me. Bauer Sharp, not so much. I think it's just additional blockers to stop this aggressiveness that they believe is going to happen from Tom Allen. You're going to have a 7-front aggressive front from Clemson. You're going to have Will Help, Demonte Capehart, Peter Woods, TJ Parker, Wade Woodaz, and Sammy Brown. And if you sprinkle in, say, Sheldon Lewis, or throw in Jeremiah Alexander in a 4-3 somehow, which I am curious if Clemson does that or not. All signs are pointing to a 4-2-5 right now. But if they go back to what Dabo wants, which is that 4-3, throw in Alexander there, I'm curious to see. They do feel as if they're going to need an extra tight end, and I believe it's not for passing. I believe it's for blocking. That tells you that they need to survive protecting the quarterback at all costs. Everything is adding up. They're not going to tell you everything. And a lot of people who are just casuals, they're going to say, oh, this is all coach speak, and you're reading too much into it. But if you just glean a little bit here and there, if you just pick out a little bit here and there, you can start to see what the game plan is that they're telling us they're going to do. They could be lying to us completely, and it'd be completely different. But from what we're seeing from the roster, from the strengths and weaknesses for both teams, it is starting to match up as we keep getting closer and closer to the game on August 30th. Clemson's pass rush has to be respected. And with just 5 linemen that you really don't trust fully, that you're thinking you're going to rotate like that, you're going to have more blockers there. And they're going to put 2 tight ends there. Now, here's the thing. If you're someone who says, wow, 2 tight ends, your first thought would be, wow, they're taking away another wide receiver. Hey, that they're losing some of that speed. Well, no, they're not losing any speed by even going to 2 tight end fronts. And that's another reason why it might be a safer decision to do 2 tight ends for LSU, because you've got Xavier Thomas. He's a killer. He's going to come after you. He's going to be guys I'm worried about. Aaron Anderson, their best wide receiver last season, and he was really their only option, and he did amazing. He's back and healthy. And then you have Chris Hilton Jr., who's their speedster on the outside. Speed, speed, speed. And if you rotate in, guess who you're rotating in? Barry and Brown. Oh my goodness. I don't want to hear from him at all. He's going to kill us. He killed us against Kentucky, us meaning Clemson. He killed Clemson against Kentucky 2 years ago. So, they have talent. They have speed, even if they only have 3 guys out there. So they're not losing any speed by adding in a tight end. What they are gaining, though, is an extra blocker to protect Garrett Nussmeier. I'm telling you this, if they come out and Garrett Nussmeier is not under pressure for 60 minutes, I'm worried about Clemson winning the game. I don't want to be that nervous Nelly guy, but if Garrett Nussmeier has time to set his feet, has time to read his first and second read, maybe even third read, has time to sit in the pocket and stay in a rhythm, allows time for these speedster wide receivers to get a few steps beyond Clemson's secondary that is, new to their starting positions, not new to college football, not new to the team, but new to their starting positions. They could eat. Garrett Nussmeier could have a huge game against Clemson. Now, I'm still relying on more of Clemson LSU game being a tight one, being very close to the very end and making us very nervous for 60 minutes. But if Garrett Nussmeier comes out with a extra blocker as a tight end and Bauer Sharp can hold up and Trey'Dez Green can hold up and get them to the red zone, and then you have Green attacking you. Imagine this. Best case scenario for LSU, they have an extra blocker but can get Anderson, Thomas, or Hilton open and kill you for 40 yards. Now you flip the field, and all you need is another quick one to Thomas or something like that. Or maybe you start implementing the run game with Durham and Jackson. Now you're within the red zone, and then you just kill Clemson with Trey'Dez Green. That would be best scenario possible there. And it all revolves around, can you protect Garrett Nussmeier? And that's why it's actually not crazy that there would be 12 personnel for LSU. And honestly, I've mentioned it and tweeted about it, if that's what you call it nowadays. I've X'd about it over on X at the Morgan T Show. I've said, why doesn't Clemson come out with 2 tight ends? Because it really all hinges on, both teams have 3 wide receivers that they love, at least 3. And it all hinges on who gets better protection. Now, here's the thing. As you start to maybe you start out with that 2 tight end set for both teams. And as you start to slowly see the chess match going, when you can take away one and add in a wide receiver, whoever can do that first and keep that protection out there, maybe that's a hint at who ultimately winds up being a winner for the game. I'm telling you, I'm loving this. I'm loving this talk because, we are talking about a game that's going to happen on Saturday, just a few days away. This is a really busy week for me. I know it's a busy week for you, but I know you're all circling Saturdays, whether you're Clemson or LSU fan. Thank you for watching. Thank you for making Locked on Clemson your first listen today. For your second listen, check out the Portal Show. Brian Smith has the latest rumors, portal entries, and signings. Be the most informed fan on the rapid changes to the college football landscape. Find the Portal on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. And to my everydayers, thank you again so much for hanging out with me to the end of the show. And as always, Tiger fans, we'll see you tomorrow, and we'll see you at the top of the hill.